Well, good morning, everyone. It's actually afternoon here. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the 26th, which I think is Friday. I think it's Friday. Is it Friday? Am I going to figure anything up here? It's Friday. Anyway, before we get into and while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'm just going to give you a bit of a walkthrough on what's been happening with the mini Transat. That's the Class 650 minis, which is pretty interesting. It's on every 2 years and it's coming through. And of course, they've got a bit of an interaction with Hurricane Gabriel. So they've actually cancelled the first leg. The leg starts in Les Sables d'Olonne, which was back on the 21st, and they've been heading out across the Bay of Biscay. And I'll just move to this shot here to start with. Okay, so this is where they were. This was about 24 hours ago. This was yesterday. And I've been following this hurricane for a couple of days. You could see it coming, as forecast. And so you can see the fleet was basically sitting here on the Portuguese coast. Now, hang on a sec, I've got to make sure, yes, on the picture. So you're on the same spot. That's what you should be seeing. So they're on the Portuguese coast, and some of the middle fleet were doing about 2 knots, and some of the guys further up the front were doing sort of 5 and 6s. The big foilers right up the front, they were moving at 7s, but there's basically a big hole there. It was sort of becalmed with very little wind. And here's the scenario. This is the Azores. This is what would be happening about now, okay? Because when I took this screenshot, which was yesterday, this was 24 hours from when it was due to hit the coast. So this is a screen grab, and I'll show you the real situation in a minute. But like 60 knot winds, this is the forecast wind gusting a lot higher than that. Here's the Portuguese coast. You could see there's no wind there, so they're really struggling to get away from it. And it's pretty clear that at least half the fleet were going to get clobbered because the fleet sitting on the Portuguese coast, they had to get below the Straits of Gibraltar, below this spot, the latitude line here, to miss the worst of it. Because 24 hours later, which is tomorrow, it's on Saturday, this is what it looks like. And so you've got 20 knots of southerly wind, and none of them are going to like that, pushing in. Half the fleet would be back here, and this is moving rapidly towards the coast, and it's going to trap them with some big winds. So now I'm going to go to, so they cancelled the leg. So you're on the tracker now, but instead of focusing on the 580 fleet, we're just giving you a quick one. So this is real-time current weather. And so here, you imagine this, the fleet now would have been just sitting here, sitting ducks in these light winds, and it's already turned partially on the nose. And so as if we switch this through every 3 hours, you can see how quick it's coming over. It is getting weaker and weaker. The gust, the peak gust was on 60 knots, and the sea state was 7 to 8 meters. It'd be pretty serious. So it was going to be a real mess, and basically, I think it's always difficult for a race organizer and the race director and all that sort of stuff to work out what's going to do, because there is an argument with these sorts of things. You leave it to the skippers, and the ones at the front that got through, well, they're quick boats and they keep racing, whereas the ones at the back, you wouldn't want to be smashing you around in this stuff. So you'd head into port, and it's screwed your race, I suppose, but that's sailing. But at the end of the day, I've been following the comments of people and so on that are looking at it. There's obviously a lot of pressure too, not to break the boats. There's a lot of sponsors involved, all those sorts of things. So a difficult call. But anyway, this is the second time, I think, or the few times, in some of the transats where they've had adverse weather. So it's unfortunate, bad luck for the guys that have been racing. They'll once this goes through, and it'll be pretty quick. If we just follow that through, once this goes through, they'll all obviously just disappears into nothing. And then you've got the tail end of it. So when it gets to that, which is in a day or so, jump out in that and you're screaming along. You set the kites and go. They'll head down to the Canaries. So the first leg from Les Sables to Canaries is a no show, no go, cancelled, and then they'll do the big race across the Atlantic. So sorry to hear that for the guys, but the safe thing is just to take it easy. Seamanship is all about not breaking the boat or breaking you. Okay, so let's I'm going to zip straight down to our guys over here, heading in the right direction. Here we go. They should have just rolled over the timeline. Jeepers, someone's getting close to. Oh, I thought that was Kerry. I thought, geez, who's that above Kerry? So we should be looking at the current thing. That's Jacob. Yes, we're on 8 o'clock. The others are on 8 o'clock. No, 4 o'clock. What's going on there? I might have to boot it. That's 8. Dan's on Dan might have a problem. 4 o'clock. Kerry did have a problem. He's 8 o'clock now, and Renault's 8 o'clock, so I think it's Dan. Kerry was off the tracker for about 12 hours, but he's back on now, so all is good. So here's our fleet toodalooing along to Rodriguez Island, which is getting closer by the minute. Renault was stating he was halfway there. I've got reports from a few boats to read once we get through this before we go through for questions and stuff. But generally, the fleet's getting a little bit emotional, a little bit stressed. Quite a few of the boats have had knockdowns, mast in the water, all that sort of stuff, even though it's looking like trade winds. Same old story. It's probably worse than what it looks. We sit here and look at the screen and say, oh, that's pretty cool. Perfect trade winds on the quarter. Away you go. Guys on the reports that's coming back, they're getting very uncomfortable sea state, bouncing around. Might be partly because of the currents as well. Let's have a look and see what's going on here. It's a bit of a mixed bag. Maybe that's in its own right causing some uncomfortable stuff, but generally you'd think, well, the wind's coming a similar direction as the current, so it should be pretty good. Let's have a look at what the waves are looking like. Yeah, there's a go. Look at that. Now, I don't know whether you can see this. We're not super high definition, but I'll just blow it up. And if we look at the boats up here, which is Peeler, Kerry, Dan, and Renaud, it's not just like the wind gradient all the same way. You can see they actually try to pick it. So you've got a northeasterly sea, right, in this area. I don't know whether you can see my cursor. So that's between Peeler and Renaud. Halfway along, you've got a northeasterly sea. Where Renaud is at the moment, it's actually a southwesterly sea, right? And you can see here where Dan and Kerry are, it's a southwesterly as well. But there is a dividing line that's coming down in between, halfway between Dan and Peeler, and extending out to the northwest on the movement. Now here there's another big pod over there northwest of Renaud, and then right where Renault's now heading into, they're trying to graphically show you these little white dots moving around, but it is actually showing sea state from various directions. Now one of the things that might be causing that, I'll come back to the wind now in a minute. You can even see it there. Boy, look at that big thing. I mean, let's have a look at the wind and the pressure system. It looks pretty clear, so that's all a bit strange, but it's all being driven by this centre here of a high. It's a high pressure system going around in a counterclockwise direction in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and you'd think that's trade winds, and you'd think it'd be pretty okay, but half the fleet's talking about not nice. I'd rather be somewhere else. So anyway, I digress on that, but that I was fascinated to see all the reports coming in about how tough it is out there right now. Okay, starting at let's pull the whole fleet in here. I think we can just about get them. Not quite. So Josh, 5.1 knots and 124 nautical mile day. Not too bad. 120 is all good. Ayrton a little bit under. He's being too comfortable, of course. 5.3, probably watching Netflix with his feet up, enjoying the ride. Jasmine, happy to be underway, settling in now, 5.5 knots and 132 mile day, streaming away from Ayrton and doing 117. Eric doing 5.3 knots and 125 mile day. Christian doing 5.7, 125. Jacob 5.9, 122. So not a bit of contrast there. Adam, he'll be super slick with his new haircut. Jeepers. 5.6 and 121. So that's all pretty normal, except for the haircut. That's not normal. But you look like bloody what's his name? The guy that's got. I say this with respect. From the actor. Anyway, doesn't matter. Anyway, he's not Yul Brynner, put it that way, but he got no hair left. You probably saw that. So then there's a 2-day gap here. Remember the 2-day gap? Peeler doing 5.7 knots and 136 nautical mile day. That's pretty good. Not as good as yesterday. I'm hoping to get an update from Peeler eventually on what caused that. I just got a note from Jacob. He's probably coming in with an excuse for, I'll read that in a minute, why he's going so slow. Kerry, 6.5 knots, 134 mile day. Not too bad. You've probably seen his post. You get a knockdown. Dan got a couple of knockdowns as well. Even Renault's complaining about the sea. Not complaining, but describing conditions that are pretty tough. So Dan, 5.5. 142. Jeepers, he's fired up. You know why? Because Nicky's going to be in Mauritius, so he wants to get it over with. Come on. So I think you caused that, Nicky. 142-mile day. That might be the biggest lot. What's Renault got? 140. So Dan's the man. He's too excited about Nicky coming. That's obvious. Renault 5.6 and 140. So still holding on his lead. Now I left my usual story. I left my cheat notes in Le Sable d'Olonne. I forgot to bring him to China with me. We want to get this here. Let's see if that works. That's not working. Anyway, it is. But we can't see the line between the two. Okay, so you'll remember that Dan was about 50 miles behind Renault about 3 or 4 days ago. He's now 88 miles behind. So Renault is still creaming the crop and powering out there. Kerry, I think, was about 100 miles behind. So he's now about 128. So once again, Renault is pulled away from Kerry. But maybe Kerry and Dan are getting closer. I'm not sure. Peeler was 100. Now, what was Peeler? I forget now. Is she 200? She's now 234. So that seems to be quite a big jump. Anyway, but Renault is absolutely pulling away. You can see that. Dan's doing okay, desperate to catch up. He had a couple of situations where he backed off for a while because the 6 day was crook. Kerry's plodding along. He's dipped down south again. So that's all very interesting for the lead pack. The other guys in the pack behind, they're pretty much holding station, although I'm yet to read Jacob's report. Let's have a look at the 2 day weather going forward. A few patches there of light blue, big one up above, forming a bit of a system, but there you go. So get rid of that one. We'll do the distances to the finish. Okay, distances to Rodriguez rather. And I'm going to push this through a couple of days now. So it's not going. It is now. So the next few days, everyone's 3 hours there. So there goes day one. So it's pretty good. The guys in the back have got, that 25 to 30. Good solid breezes at the front. It might get a little bit quieter. Certainly down south, it's still looking pretty good. There's no reason, what this is suggesting to me, there's no reason why they shouldn't all be getting, their 120, 130 mile days. It's just that the guys at the back won't have as much sail up as the guys at the front. But the guys at the front can put more sail up and keep those high speeds going as well. So the fleet's going to still move pretty quick towards Rodriguez, which is a good thing. And no real surprises, but some breeze coming. And I just want to extend this out. There's probably a bit of interest all the time now looking at what's going on in South Africa, because that's where they're headed. They're still a month away yet from there, but it's always interesting. I'll just push that through again every 3 hours, and you can see the systems moving. So some challenges there. You can see Rodriguez is the little one, then you've got Mauritius, and then you've got to go underneath Madagascar. And you can see there's light headwinds coming up, bouncing off this system here, although that's another high forming up right there. Highs go around in the counterclockwise direction in the southern hemisphere, so you can pick it. But there's a good breeze coming down the coast. I'll just make that a little bit bigger, and we'll just follow that through just so you can see what happens between Port Louis and Durban. Centre of a high there. There's a nice breeze. So it's a nice breeze, on the back of that high going towards Durban. Still the northerly there, that's okay. And you can see once again the juncture between these southwesterlies or southerlies or whatever it is always comes just north of Durban, so you've got it there. So all very interesting. I'll just push it through. That's all. There goes a bit of a front. So, yeah, interesting to watch. All right, well, that's enough of that. What we didn't do is see how far left to go towards Rodriguez. I'll measure that off now, and then we get an idea of ETAs, something that Renault is saying, when am I going to arrive? What do people think? Blah, blah, blah. So here it comes. So Renault is currently from Port Martin, 860. So that's about, what's that, 7 days? Would that be 7? No. It's a bit less than 7. So sort of 6.5 days for Renault. That's Friday, so sometimes Friday morning you might see him in Port Mathurin. It could be weekend, another bloody overtime rates for customs. I'm not sure what works there, but we'll see. So sometime Friday for Dan and Kerry, Saturday, Sunday for Peeler, and then back here Adams, 1300. So that'll be Tuesday, Wednesday next week maybe, and so it goes. All right, that's probably enough of that one. I'm going to press that, come back and say good day. I'll read you these messages first. Hang on. Here we go. Whoop, I had that one. Hang on. I've got to get onto this. I need that. There we go. Rightio, I'll start off here with Renault's report. Actually, it's very interesting because we've asked for the 40 to 50 word report from entrants on their set days. Renault is very good. All of a sudden now he's got these regular reports because he put it up on his Facebook page before he'll, at the same time he sends it to us, so it's there as well. Which is good because he used to talk about cooking cakes, but now he's talking about doing stuff, So Renault's report, hello, since last night's rock and roll on board Capuchinet, wind gusts at 35 knots, the waves not too high but aggressive, regularly pass over or lay down the boat, so regularly laying the boat down, get whacked, so quite confusing. According to Windy, this should go down a notch in the day, that would be today. Better because these are really difficult conditions. Now, when Renault's saying difficult conditions, guess what? It's difficult conditions. So yeah, not fun. They're earning their keep at the moment. I'm always halfway to Rodriguez. What are your arrival predictions? Well, I'm saying Friday morning. Hopefully he's saying not at night and not on the weekend, but it should be on Friday. I also hope in manageable conditions because the lengths to go in the lagoon being west of the pass, I would want to avoid touching the edges. That's an English translation of French. So they come in, it should be from the west, yeah, they're coming in from the top. They're sort of a bit in the lee. They're approaching, I'll show you that tomorrow maybe when I'm on the tracker. As they get closer, I'll show you the approach. But it's in another lagoon, but they cross the line because they can't enter at night time. They're not allowed to under the port rules down the channel. But they can get protection. Okay, so that's Renault, and then I've got a separate message from Jacob here, which he sent to me, but I'll read it to you now. This is what just came in. He sent a video as well, which is cool. There's some good videos coming out as well. All the entrants are doing well. Last 2 days is quite heavy weather with lots of rain. We got wet by crashing waves and then washed by rain. Boat was going steady with swell 20-degree angle and wind waves on the beam. Rocky, but I found it suitable for me more than wind on the stern and boat rolling on both sides. That makes sense because you've got the pressure and it's holding it there. So, yes, if you can get yourself in a comfortable spot. Some squalls were 30 plus on the jib only. I was making 5.5 knots, no mainsail. Finally, I cut through the front, and this morning I saw the sun. Sea calmed down to moderate and wind from the port aft at 16 to 21 knots. I also got a bit of current, so from now on, I'm heading to Rodriguez. So that's cool. Thanks for the video. I'll get Jane to put this up later. It's a bit much to try and hold it there. So there's a video coming. So that's Jacob's. That was cool. Then, he sent it to both. He sent it to me, and it's also here. So now I'll go back. I've got a good picture of Pilo's bum here, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So stand by, everybody. Don't leave yet. There's a whole story to that. I've got to go back to make sure I get it far enough. We did Josh yesterday. Manager Nikki, we did that as well. So the first one was Renault, which I did. Kerry Harris last night. I've got a nice picture of sunset over the stern, or sunrise. Sunrise. It's over the stern. After a tricky night. So Kerry's talking about it as well. He says, like Renault, I had another, because all the entrants can see the entrant updates here. They're all we were on a WhatsApp group, a special one. So he's read Renault's group, and it says, like Renault, we had another bumpy night with 2 minor knockdowns from breaking beam seas. Otherwise, I was hurtling into the abyss with my fingers crossed nothing would break. Around 3 a.m. I considered going to my storm jib, but was able to ride out the strongest winds under jib. And that's interesting because he doesn't have a furler. If you've got a furler, you keep getting it smaller and smaller. But if you can do one reef in your jib, there's a built-in reef, whether he's got that in. But after that, you drop it. You still need something pulling up the front, so you've got to put the storm jib up, but he didn't have to. So this afternoon presented a beautiful ultramarine sea, flecked with spray and breakers under a curlew blue sky with but a few cumulus clouds on the horizon. Surely the most beautiful I have seen of the Indian Ocean thus far. Actually, his photo, which you won't get to see totally, is pretty cool as well. Always never underestimating the beauty is Kerry, because he's a painter as well and a poet and all the rest of it. So he grabs the moment as it happens. Okay, here's Peela's standby. I'm going to show you a picture of her bum in a minute. A nice one. It's okay. She sent it to me on the report, so it's legal. It's got, pants down, everything. The first few days were very intense, large, long, winding southern waves and strong east-southeast winds. Suddenly, while I was in the cockpit, a wave hit the boat and my body hit a cleat. I couldn't sleep on my back, but who can sleep in those sea conditions? So she's also talking about challenging bits and pieces. So then here's the picture. It's just actually above her. There we go. So she got a huge bruise there, and when that happens, and the photos pretty quickly thereafter, I'd say it's not comfortable at all. So we've been actually pretty lucky. Touch wood, touch wood, touch wood. That's 3 different types of wood with injuries. It's always one of the things you don't want to happen. And so far, so good. So good luck, Peela. Thanks for the photo. I'm sure that increased our ratings. And Kerry, I did that heading to Fiji. Peela, it was very... Oh, okay. So Kerry talking to Peela. We're not meant to be talking on this one because it's just reports, but there's Kerry's note to Peela. Just said, I did that heading to Fiji, Peela. It was very sore for 5 days, so I hope you recover soon. Yeah, it looks like at least a 5-day bruise there for sure. Argo, Christian, after 2 days of miserable weather with lots of rain, strong gusts or no wind, and a confused sea state, we finally have some sun. So that was a big mouthful. Very confusing weather. My jet boil broke, and it took me some time to find my spare burner in the boat, but I'm back to hot meals now. Yeah, you have... I lose things on the boat all the time. You think, how can you lose it? It's only a little boat. But yes, it happens. Apparently, my shoulders don't like the conditions too much, but beside that, everything's fine on Argo. So that's pretty cool. Sun Bear report from Eric. On Friday, progress is steady with daily averages of around 130 nautical miles a day over the past few days. However, the sea state is extremely confused, making it difficult to get quality rest. I'm currently relying on white sails to conserve my A sails. Most nights have been marked by the presence of large ships in close proximity and range. Just as well, we have an AIS alarm and Echo Max. I'm doing okay. Looking forward to arriving in Rodriguez. All the best, Eric. So once again, everyone is sending a report saying it's pretty challenging conditions out here. And Kerry, Peela came back to Kerry saying, thanks for your words, Kerry. So, yeah, she's going to be a bit sore there for a while. That's it. So there are all the reports, all kind of interesting, and it's a real race. I was going to say race. It's a real race. It's a real adventure. They're little boats. They're in the ocean. You're probably seeing the video reports from the entrance, and generally they do make it look too easy still. They're all being troopers and just taking it in their stride and talking about it. But having done a relatively mild Transat compared to what they're now about to enter into, it's going to be a very emotional ride for everyone over the next month or so. So well done, all you guys and girls out there in the 580s. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay safe, all that sort of stuff. So, okay, Tyson, g'day, watching from New Zealand. Good on you, Tyson. Rathlin from Ireland, good on you. Another Kiwi, Craig Gunner, watching from Sweden. Oh, it's good to see we're getting around places. See the boys over at the Frederick at the boat show in Germany. The German Association. If you're in Germany, you want to try and get there and say good day. Isla, good evening from Darwin. Rathland. Looks like the mid group is gaining on the leaders. Yeah, there's a little bit of that maybe. A bit deceptive because Katie Strickland did a great little wrap up of the mini globe race over the last month, say. Just put it up on Facebook yesterday. And so she's got a good following. A lot of readers will get that. And they'll probably jump on the tracker and think, wow, Fleet's really close, because we don't have a disclaimer on the tracker. So they'll see it and they'll think that the back group is really close to the front group about those other 2 days. And thanks for doing the story, Katie, if you're watching. Watching from Adelaide, David, good on you. Hometown, and Dan, the Adelaide man. He's got a really strong following. Good to see. He deserves it. I've got money on Captain Peeler, so don't upset her with rude photos. Oh, she sent me the photo, and it wasn't actually her bum. There was actually a little bit higher than that. So there you go. Anyway, great team. Thank you for that, everybody. We'll be here tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing how they go. But it could always, as much as it's uncomfortable, this and that, it could always be worse. So I think they're all doing really well. Okay, see you later. Thanks for liking, sharing, and hanging in there as well.